Welcome to Feeling Asian, a podcast where two Asians talk about their feelings. I'm Youngmi Mayer.
And I'm Brian Park. And before we get into our usual Patreon shout-outs, we need to make a few announcements. We're making some changes, Youngmi. So, exciting news first. We are now offering weekly Patreon episodes.
That's right. Every Sunday, you get an extra episode.
More content. Because before it used to be bi-weekly, and let's be honest, we slacked some weeks.
A little bit.
It was like 3. You get 2 episodes a month, but now, guaranteed, every week, you will get an extra bonus Patreon episode. We touch a lot of sex and dating stuff, but also other chaotic subjects as well.
Yeah, we're going to just need to have more sex. Is that what you're trying to say, Brian? I'm tired.
Well, you're going to have to subscribe to find out. And you can do so at patreon.com/feelingasian. Wow, you like that? That was pretty smooth.
Yeah,
that was pretty smooth.
Brian's
behind the paywall.
Yeah.
However, what this means, but the other announcement we want to make is that we're going to make some changes to the shout-outs.
Yeah.
We love doing them. However, they do take a little bit of time. And what we want to do on this podcast is to center it around the discussions and highlight our wonderful guests. And, you know, we want to dedicate more time to that. So we are amending our shout-outs to doing 10 per episode. And we are just going to give you a positive affirmation for each. I know some of you are going to be disappointed because you were looking forward to our psychic guesses about your identity. However,
it's taken too long, man. I mean, we're like backed up, but I think
we're backed up.
We're backed up.
We're gonna backed
have to
up.
Power through these.
We're scaling this. We're backed up. It's inefficient. However, in return, as an apology, please accept our weekly Patreon episodes.
Yeah, we're sorry.
But let's jump into it. Our new version of the Patreon shoutouts. Youngmi. First shout out goes out to Estelle Gong.
Estelle, you seem like the person that works in the office that brings all the donuts for no reason, like on a Tuesday, you know, just to make everyone feel better. Thank you.
Is that an affirmation or?
I don't know. I don't even know what an affirmation is.
Okay, next one goes out to
nice.
Next one goes out to Steph Chu. Steph Chu.
Your parents are proud of you.
Monica Kim, you are so beautiful inside and out. Keep doing you. Hannah Tyra.
You definitely know how to fix cars.
Jeffrey Tan. You don't know how to fix a car, but you're incredible at coding. Next shout out goes out to Kathy.
Kathy with an I. You, whenever you walk into a classroom, or whenever you're not in class, all the classmates and or coworkers notice that you're not there.
Vinny Hong, you are the main character.
Yes.
In 3 people's lives. Next shout out goes to Anne Shi.
Hi. Hi, Anne. Hi, Anne Shi. I like you.
Next shout out goes to Vivi. You are so freaking sexy.
Someone's horny, and it's Brian.
And it's me. And this next person is also horny. Max Her, you are so horny.
You are horny.
We love it. Okay, I think that's 10.
Okay.
So once again, everyone, thank you for donating to our Patreon. Please don't be too upset. We promise we'll make it up to you with amazing weekly Patreon episodes and even better quality regular episodes. But thank you again for your support. And if you want to do so, you can do so at patreon.com/feelingasian. Now, I think it's time to introduce our wonderful guest this week, Youngmi.
I'm so excited that we're doing this like right into the meat. You know what I mean, Brian?
Get right into the meat of it. Everyone, our guest this week is just a fucking rock star of a human being. She is the co-founder of the company Omsom, which I'm sure you might have come across on your social media platforms or even tried their products, but we'll jump into that. Everyone, please give your ears to Kim Pham.
Hi, friends. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so stoked. This is going to get a little ratchet. I'm ready.
I'm so excited to have you. I love your social media presence. There's so many like interesting, fascinating things about you, and I'm shitting my pants right now.
All right. So Youngmi and I are in the same room.
Brian's basement flooded. So, you know, from the storm.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's been a struggle for Brian.
Right. So this is Youngmi's way of saying that my apartment is dealing with some shit water, and Youngmi
I'm adding to the problem.
She's contributing.
I'm contributing.
Yeah.
However, I don't know if I'm on your side on this, Youngmi. Do you do that, Kim? Like, you're so amped about something that you want to shit your pants out of excitement?
I don't know if I'm there quite yet.
Okay. When I get excited,
But I
have to
respect
shit.
you. I see you.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you.
Youngmi Mayor, you do you.
Shitting
You're
your pants is a
beautiful.
valid response, okay?
But Kim, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Before we jump into how you feel, Youngmi, how are you feeling?
Well, it's nice to be in the same room with you, Brian. I know we recorded the dating episode together, which was cool. I always like sitting in the same. I don't know. It just feels different when you're like in the same room. I feel like I'm feeling. Okay, so I've like really cut back on doing stand up just because I don't know. This sounds like kind of weird, but I've been seeing it as like I don't get as much in return. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather focus on something that I'm gonna like, you know, it's gonna become something. And not unfortunately, but like doing stuff online is just way better for me and my career than going to like a bar with 8 people and saying one joke for 6 months.
And like 2 of them already hate you because you're Asian.
Yeah, and then they're making out which this is like, okay, so I have a story.
They're like, we're on a fucking date. What is this bullshit? What? Are you fucking kidding me? Stand-up is happening?
I know. It's always like they're at a bar and then the stand-up show starts to happen. They're like, no!
Are you fucking kidding me?
God. And then they leave.
And she's Asian.
The worst.
People are always like saying weird things about like how I dress. They're like, oh, it's a blue hair. Like they call you that. That's like a slur online now. Do you know that, Brian?
I've heard that. I've heard in some parts of Bushwick that is an extremely pejorative slur.
Yes.
It's a blue hair.
It's a blue hair. A blue hair is talking and telling us what to do. So anyway, I did a stand-up show yesterday. Literally worst show of my entire life.
Oh,
and I want to tell you, I'm gonna post clips to because I taped it. I'm gonna tell you, and I'm probably gonna post some clips because it's actually really funny, and how I'm feeling is really proud because I stood up for myself, and I think I made it funny. But I want to apologize to anybody that was at the show because I think there were some Asian women in the audience, and I was assuming that they were there because I posted it in my stories. And so if you're listening to this and you were there, please DM me. I feel so bad.
Oh my God.
For putting them in this unsafe situation.
Yeah, I noticed that we lost 2 Instagram followers on our Feeling Asian podcast.
Oh,
so.
Is that why, Brian? It's not because you're in a relationship?
You said there were 8 people on the show, at the show. 2 of them are racist white guys and 2 Asian women, naturally.
We lost the 2 racist white guys. They don't like our podcast.
They hate follow.
So let me tell you, Brian. Let me tell you what happened, Kim. I got to the show, and the first comedian was like a white guy.
Yeah.
And he was talking, and it was a bar show. There's probably like, I would say 20 people in the audience, right? It's a pretty busy show for back of the bar.
It's bumping.
It's a big time. It's a big time, kids.
Wow.
And there were like a handful of Asian women in the back, and I was like, I feel like they're here to see me. And then my friend said that he heard them say something like that, so I was like, oh well, this is nice or whatever, maybe I'll talk to them.
Right.
So the first guy goes up, and then I am like, oh, I'm going to go outside and smoke a cigarette, and I'll come back. He's on the stage. I come back. There's this wall of like 5 white women, okay? Mm-hmm. And they all look very rich. And I could gather...
a wall of them.
A wall of them. I could gather that the host of the show, who is our mutual... I'll tell you who it is later.
Okay.
Was sleeping with one of them because he sat down next to her, and then they were like hugging.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, that's probably his girlfriend and her friends. She brought her friends to see her boyfriend's comedy show. And I was like, oh, that's nice. I go outside. I come back in after I smoked. The white guy comedian is just like yelling at these women and like I don't know what's going on, so I'm just like, man, this guy's a dick or something, right?
Yeah.
And then so he's yelling at them, and then he in the middle of it, he just starts like telling the host to come up because he's done. He just leaves the stage.
Oh shit.
And then when he's leaving, I was just like, oh, maybe this guy, maybe he sucks or something.
Okay,
but
so vibes are catastrophic right now. Okay.
Vibes are I literally got on stage and I said, vibes are catastrophic in here. What's going on? I was like, I missed everything. What happened?
Yeah.
And I was like, why was he yelling at these women?
Yeah.
And then somebody in the front was like, these fucking white bitches or something like that.
Okay.
So, and I was like, wait, what happened? So it turns out that the white women were heckling him.
Oh.
And they were drunk, so they kept like interrupting all his jokes. And he was like, shut the fuck up. I'm like doing stand up. You don't have to be here, like whatever. And so then I was like, ha ha ha. And I was like trying to be on their side because I wanted to smooth things over. But,
yeah,
but
like
the woman,
hashtag believe women.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on women's side. And so the woman that was sleeping with the host, who's our mutual friend, walked out of the room with her other friend because those two were the ones that were fighting with the comedian, and the host walks out with them. And so I'm just like trying to do jokes, and then I like thought this is funny actually. I said, oh, the host told me once that he slept with over 200 white women, which he told me. He's not white.
Wait,
he told me.
You said that in front of his girlfriend?
No, she left.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, when I walked in and I saw a bunch of white women, I was like, assuming all of you have slept with him.
Is the host not a non-white person?
Non-white person. But he told me once, right? And I was like,
okay, weird.
And so I was like, that's weird, but
yeah,
I think he was like he thought it was funny, and I was like, that's weird. And so I just said that on stage, like, come on, guys, like, let's relax. Like, oh, are you guys all sleeping with him,
so
as
you
a
put him on
joke?
blast.
But he wasn't there.
Oh,
and then
shit.
the drunk white woman that were one of the people that were heckling the first comedian is like, but you're not funny. And I was like, well, you're not funny. Like, what? And then she started.
You think we're doing stand up here?
Yeah.
Is this what you want?
And then
it's 2021.
And then she was like texting, and I was like, oh my God, are you texting your friend that I just said that he slept with over 200 white women?
Oh shit.
So I said that to her, and she was like, shut up. Why are you? She was like, why are you picking on me? And I was like, bro, I'm just saying that you're on the phone, like, relax. And then all the other audience members were turning on her.
Oh shit.
And then I just said, white women are always the victim, even when they're wrong.
Oh shit.
And then she got even more mad. But then I feel like the other audience members started being like, ha ha ha. And then I like just started like going around asking them, like, and I was like, are you white? And then this one woman was like, I'm Mexican. And she was like, fuck these women, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah.
Oh, so
yeah.
you just incited a straight up coup at this
a race war.
Oh my
I started
God.
a race war. But it was so funny because the whole time I like wasn't nervous. Like, you know, like when you get heckled, Brian?
Yeah.
You get like, it's kind of like destabilizing and you kind of get knocked off your ass. And, but the entire time I was just like having so much fun. Like, I just thought it was really funny.
That's great.
And I just kept like making jokes and stuff like that. So I was really proud.
Wow.
And I was like, maybe I am a professional stand-up comedian.
Let's go.
Anyway, I want to post clips of that.
Oh shit.
On my Instagram.
I'm so excited for that. Oh my God. Now
wait, I need to know what happened with the Asian women.
Oh, they were laughing. At one point I said on stage, I was like, we're getting into a race fist fight. All the Asian I said, all you Asian bitches in the back and your one white friend, she's on my side. You guys are all on my side. Your white friend looks like she can fight.
Oh, I love it.
That's what happened.
I love that there's some closure to this. Kim, I love it, Kim. Your attention to detail is spot on because I forgot.
Highs and lows.
I forgot about that detail, and for a moment, this was like an HBO limited series where that's a detail and there's just no resolution. They're just there, but Kim listens.
Yeah,
she knows what's up.
There's like no end to that story. That's all that happened. Oh, and then I texted my friend, the host, and I was like, bro, what is wrong with you? Don't bring friends like that to a comedy show.
And he's like, I'm going to let you know that my number is now 205 white women. Thank you very much.
No, and then all the comedians were really upset. like the guy that went ahead of me was
Yeah.
like, why'd you bring your fucking drunk ass girlfriend? And they were just, you know what I mean? It's just like not a professional environment. And I was like, dude, that was so unprofessional. And I was like, and then I was like, and those like people, like my friend said that he heard them say that they were there to see me. It's like, I feel like shit that I like posted this on my Instagram and they had to come to that. Come on, bro. And I was like, that was so unprofessional.
But
I like
think that
reamed him.
when people
Yeah.
go to see you, it's kind of like watching NASCAR. Like, yeah, I'm here to see the race, but I kind of want to see someone crash too. Like,
That's
so
exactly what they wanted.
The Young Lee
They
Mayer
wanted-
experience, like, yeah, stand-up's cool, but chaos is also pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, they're like chaos. That was their dream, to see me yelling at a white woman, a rich white woman.
They're like, wow, this is, what's your Venmo? Because you gave us more than enough show.
My favorite thing right now is that Young Me, you're like, it was so unprofessional, but I'm gonna incite a race war. Like, that was it. I love that.
I know I incited a fist fight, but you know what? You're so unprofessional. How about you, Brian? How are you feeling?
Oh, okay, so I am feeling pretty fucking excited for a couple reasons. So one is my girlfriend has been away for the past 2 weeks, and so I'm going to go pick her up at the airport right after this recording. So I'm really excited to see her again.
Aww.
And I'm going to the U.S. Open tomorrow.
What?
And so the U.S. Open, for those of you who aren't aware, is one of the 4 tennis majors, and it happens here in New York. And bro, I'm like so giddy with excitement. I am obsessed. Obviously, you know, I'm obsessed with tennis, and whenever the U.S. Open comes around in New York, like, shit, I'm just happy for no reason other than that. I can be having the worst day. In fact, I did have one of the worst. I had a terrible day a couple days ago because my fucking basement flooded because of Hurricane Ida.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've been dealing with that too.
That sucks.
Oh, it's horrible. It's
Highs
so
and lows,
horrible.
like Kim said.
Right. Like in that moment. Oh, actually, this is another plug for our Patreon. We talked about this in our Patreon episode.
Okay.
Is that you know, you say how you're drawn to men who are very handy because if there is an apocalyptic situation, they can help you.
I honestly have to say, the person that I'm dating now is handy, but not historically. I like the ones that are weak.
Yeah.
I
so
like
you know, I host a podcast in Brooklyn. That's not the most useful guy during an apocalypse, and my basement was just flooding like crazy, and I just remember like the sewage water, mind you, is like up to my ankles.
Ugh.
And there's just, I just hear like water filling up this room, and I'm like, it was just so overwhelming. I'm like, I just was just kind of paralyzed. I'm like, I don't know what to. They didn't teach me this in AP US history. Okay, I'm very book smart. I'm a bookish guy.
Yeah.
But I was in that moment, I just felt so emasculated because I'm like, I don't even know. I guess I saved the mics and
you were just holding the
start.
I was just holding the mics. Like, what
Save
do I do? What do I do?
Not the equipment.
Holding the Zoom recorder, like
Just in sewage water. Like.
So you know, it sucks. It's very sobering, but at the end of the day, like, I'm just glad no one got hurt, and all of it's replaceable. I can just deal with it with the insurance companies. However, I'm just extremely excited because
that's exciting.
It's tennis season, baby, and my girlfriend is coming back today.
That's so exciting. I want to also say that I would be useless in an apocalypse. Are you kidding? I would get a nosebleed and like immediately just lay down and just wait for death. Guess I'll die. I get
this is it.
Oh, the Wi-Fi's not working. I choose death.
Oh my
I'm
god.
so worthless.
But yeah, pretty short
That's
and
great.
sweet. I'm just that's what's going on with
I'm
me.
happy for you, Brian.
Thank you. Kim, how are you feeling?
I am sad because sundress hoe season is over.
Oh
Like literally stepping outside, I was like, oh, it's here. fall is coming. I'm a Cancer baby. I'm a summer queen.
Yeah.
I just want to be wearing as minimal clothing as possible. And so the fact that like I will now have to wear thigh-high socks with my dresses is a little heartbreaking, but I'm trying to keep it in stride.
Yeah.
Getting railed in a jumper. Does that
Getting railed in a
it's not the
sweater
same.
dress.
getting
A cardigan. No.
getting
No.
railed in a light jacket?
No, it doesn't have the same
It doesn't
ring
really
to
have
it.
the same ring
It's
to it.
not. It's not. But I am excited because my parents are visiting this weekend.
Nice.
And they're the best. I love Mama and Papa Pham. Although I realized, so I'm 29
Yeah.
and they're like staying at my apartment. So they're sleeping in my bed. I'm sleeping on the couch.
Nice.
And like I started talking to my friends and they're like, oh, wait, your parents aren't like getting a hotel? And I was like, oh, wait, that's like a thing?
Yo.
I think it's a white thing.
I think it's. I
Is
think
it?
that's
It's
an
a white
Asian
thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a white thing and an Asian
It's an
thing.
Asian
yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Asians never always stay at your house.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
friends, I told my friends that too, and they thought it was really weird. I was
Right.
like,
And it to me, it just seems
Yes.
like a no-brainer. Like, of
Right.
course, you're more than welcome to stay at my apartment. Like, I would love to. You know.
Yeah,
Why
it's so
go?
weird.
Like, it just seems so
Yeah.
impersonal to be like, okay, see you later. See you later. Dad's first name.
Dad's first.
Go to your.
You
go
don't
to your
even know your dad's
hotel
first name.
Like a stranger.
Yeah. I just thought it was weird. They were like, wait, that's so, like, you know, you're like grown. I'm like, but it's my parents.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I'm grown, but like my
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I like, you
yeah.
know, I have a one bed in East Williamsburg. It's not like I have like a ton of roommates or anything like that. So I
Yeah.
was just like, apparently that's a thing. Is white
Wow.
people's parents get hotel rooms.
But if my parents visited now, I would get them a hotel because I live in a 5-floor walk-up, and I can't have
Fair.
them getting a heart attack.
Yeah.
It's
Now-
hard. Yeah.
Was it stressful prepping your place for your parents?
Oh my god.
It was very stressful. Actually, I put a TikTok out yesterday about it. So my parents are amazing. They're actually super like progressive and really sex positive. But I was like, I don't need to like throw my sex positivity and kink and fetish positivity in their face.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, had to put away lots of toys and instruments and mechanisms.
Oh shit.
You know, just had to put them into
We're
shelving.
talking mechanisms here.
Wow.
Yes, instruments as well. Yeah, I was just like, oh, like it's my home, so I don't even think about it. But yeah, like maybe don't have like my restraints hanging out or like my
Let's go.
dildos
Wow.
and my shibari rope and like my crops and floggers. Like that doesn't need to be in plain view for Mama and Papa Pham. So I have a
Wow.
little drawer where all that goes away.
Damn.
That's a little taste of, because we wanted to have you on, obviously, to discuss Omsom, but we also wanted to talk to you about the BDSM thing, which we're
Right.
going to get to
We'll
later.
get to later,
So
yeah.
now they know so much about you. I don't know anything
Yeah.
about BDSM.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited.
Your life sounds fucking exhilarating and sick as fuck. I want to be
Where-
friends
yeah.
with you.
Where are you
What-
putting all the stuff?
yeah,
Where's all the stuff going? Where are you
Where
hiding?
am I fitting like the
Where are you
stuff?
hiding it?
I have like I have like my sus drawer.
Oh, okay.
Where like when I am with a partner and they see me walking over to that drawer,
Yeah.
sus activities are about to occur.
Nice.
So it's just it's one drawer. It's dedicated. It's
Sus
a black box of things
There's
that just everything goes in there.
just sus activity.
No, I'm like imagining because your parents are gonna be visiting and like your mom's just gonna like open like the pantry and
Yes.
like some like a crotch. I don't even know, like a
She's
gag
gonna be
ball is gonna
like,
fall on her,
wake
like
up
a
before-
dildo or.
She's gonna be like flipping like an omelet using your like spanking thing. I don't even know what it's called.
The whip.
Paddle.
She's like, this is
using
her.
one of my
She's
paddles.
whisking
Using a
the
paddle
eggs.
to, like,
Hey, I
whisk
found your whisk under the bed. I don't know what it was doing in there, but who wants an omelet? That's so funny. Oh
Your
my
dad's
god.
gonna be using a hanging restraint thing as a hammock to like
He's gonna use that ball gag thing. He thinks it's a back massager. He's gonna be like hitting his back with it, like, oh, I love. He's gonna be rolling around. I found your back massager in the
god.
in a drawer. I don't know. You got a bunch of back massagers in there. That is so funny.
Oh man. Well, that's super exciting, and you definitely got to keep us posted. Hopefully they don't
Yes.
they don't find any of this sus activity or sus. They don't pry into your sus drawer too much. But
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
yeah, Kim. So we'll let you explain to us. You're co-founder of this incredibly successful company
Yes.
called Omsom. Tell us, like, what is Omsom? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, for sure. So when I'm not doing sus activities, I am the co-founder of Omsom. Omsom is a proud and loud Asian food brand, really focused on reclaiming and celebrating the multitudes in Asian flavors and stories. Basically, I run the business with my sister, actually, Vanessa. We are both first-generation Vietnamese Americans and daughters of refugees, and growing up, we just never, ever felt seen or celebrated, frankly, by that, like, ethnic aisle in
Yeah.
mainstream grocery
Yeah.
stores. I don't know if you've been to one recently, but it's like fucking stepping back in time. Like,
Yeah.
the products are really old school, super whitewashed, like diluted in flavor, and just not at all like celebrating the communities from which they arise. And so Vanessa and I quit our jobs like 2-3 years ago,
Yeah.
really just to be like, how can we reimagine this category and mapped to the changing DNA of this country? And yeah, so Omsom was really born from that.
The ethnic food aisle is like Vietnamese, Mexican, Peruvian,
It's a mess.
Ukrainian. It's like, okay, what is this? Gefilte fish? Like what? What? It's like the entire world in one aisle, and then there's like 50,000 types of ranch in the next aisle. There's one
Yes.
ranch aisle,
Yeah.
and then the entire world in another aisle. It's so funny.
It's just like, I can't believe it's 2021, right? And
Yeah.
and even for it to be called this ethnic aisle, like, it's so inherently othering.
Yeah.
It centers white Americana as like the default for
Yep.
the American diet, when that's just so not true. And even thinking about, like, there are some cuisines and communities that have kind of transcended that aisle, right? Like, look at Greek food, look at Italian food, right? Like, that's not considered ethnic. Like, it's basically like non-Western European
Yeah.
communities of color. Like, that's what ethnic means,
Right.
for all intents and purposes in the grocery store. And so,
What's
it's
the
just so
yeah.
hodgepodge. It's like black-eyed peas sitting next to like jerk sauce,
Yeah.
sitting next to soy sauce and fish sauce. It makes no sense.
And
No
what's
sense.
the deal with the baby corn in cans? It's always baby corn. Why is that in the ethnic aisle? I don't know who the hell is using this baby corn. I guess Chinese food is like, I don't remember seeing it. What country the houses are? It's every single time the baby corn. Sorry.
It's grocery stores, you need to normalize baby corn.
Yeah,
corn can be in white
Didn't realize baby corn was a topic for you, and now I know.
All the brands, the lettering is always like that. That font.
Oh
you know,
my
the
God.
chopsticky looking
Like
font.
dragons and panda. Girl, don't even get me started. It's such a mess.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Omsom to me is, needless to say, it's an incredible product. I am a terrible cook, and
Me too. Oh my God.
it makes everything so easy, and it tastes fucking fantastic. But the brand itself is, I find it fascinating, and it almost, to me, seems like this new wave of business, let's say 3.0 for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
where, yes, like the branding is on point, it's great, it's eye-catching. However, you use your platform, like your social media platforms, and you as a co-founder are like very vocal about addressing these, using the food, and obviously food is inherently very political, and you don't shy away from that as a brand. And I'm curious, like, how does that feel, and is that a conscious choice on your end of things?
Yeah, for sure. First off, thank you. I feel like you could pitch us. Damn, like, great job. Great job, Ryan. I will send you to my next
Hire
VC
him.
meetings. Yeah, that's a really great question. We get asked this quite a lot, and I kind of wish I had like a neat answer of like, yeah, this is like the
Right.
future of how conscious businesses are being built.
Because
but
like
it's actually
in the past, like it always felt like business is separate from personal.
Right.
Like
Or
it's
your
very
personality.
impersonal. Just focus on the product. But with Omsom, it's like you and your sister's personalities are like very apparent, and it's like the through line for this entire company.
Yeah, I guess like, you know, how we show up in the world is like not divorced from us as individuals, and frankly like what my team cares about. Like,
Yeah.
we never set out to be like a product brand. We really set out to be about the culture, and this kind of really interesting place of being third culture in Asian America, and like what does that mean, and what do we care about, and what sort of dialogues or topics have long been erased or silenced, and how can we, you know, we've been given a platform and we're so grateful for it, and we feel like we kind of have to use it to talk about the things that we care about. It's not like, you know, there's a playbook behind the scenes of like, this is how we cut through the noise on social. It's truly like my team gets together and we're like, what do we fucking care about? What has been sitting in our hearts as Asian Americans? What is happening on a larger dialogue that like perhaps non-Asian communities aren't talking about? Like, you know, folks for, I don't know why, seem to like want to listen and care about us. And so, you know, that's a deep and immense responsibility that we feel like we have to use for good. And for us, that means like, yeah, having a lot of kind of uncomfortable, proud and loud conversations.
Yeah, I think that's like I think that's really great. Like what you said, you know, when you are given a platform, it is sort of like there is like somewhat of a responsibility to like talk about things that people may not be talking about. But I also have to say, I think that your intuition as a business owner is very smart because, you know, like what Brian said, back in the old days, they were like, don't ever talk about anything. It has to be a brand and nobody has to know who's behind this. But like, I think the strength of your brand and your company is that there is like a real person behind it.
For sure.
And especially when it's like, you know, we're in this era where people are getting in trouble because white people are co-opting our cultures and, you know, like and being like, oh, this is a what's that word that they love to say? Elevated, I elevated pho and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think in this culture, I think your intuition is really smart that people want to see an Asian person doing it and they're respectfully doing it. And they're like, this is my brand and we want to like do this right. And we're going to use any attention that we get to like help our community too. And I think that's very smart on your part.
Yeah, thanks. I wish it was like business savvy, but it's honestly just like, it feels like us as individuals. I think Vanessa and I have, you know, we grapple with the word activist, right? And that in 2021. But like, I think, you know, after the 2016 election, I think her and I looked at each other and we're like, what the fuck? And like, how can we begin to build a world that feels a little bit better? And for us, like, how do we stay in our lane and do that? And for us, like, our lane really felt explicitly like Asian flavors and stories. It felt tied to our own kind of personal journeys as first gen daughters of refugees. And yeah, like, I guess like the way that I think about it is in this day and age, like when you don't stand for something, you don't mean anything to anyone, you know, like, and I feel like we are just like, we know who we are and we know who we're for. Like we are first and second gen folks, Asian Americans, third culture, thinking actively about their identity and how it relates to the world, realizing that food doesn't sit in a bubble. It's inherently political, as you said, Brian. And so like, that's our ride or dies. Like, and how can we build for them? Not being exclusionary, of course. Like if you're down to see the multitudes and like down to recognize that Asian America doesn't just look one way, then like we fuck with you and ride with us. But we know at our heart, at our core, who we're first and foremost for. And I think that's like been the key, I think, to our kind of success so far.
Right. And even though you're just being yourself and voicing things and matters that are important to you, it is inherently risky though, because even before you went public and you're trying to get early stage investments from people, I think politicizing anything it's inherently risky because, and let's be honest, I'm sure it's changed and progressed a lot, but a lot of these VCs or people with like this capital who can invest in your companies, they're probably going to be like cis het white dudes who, if you politicize anything, it's like, gonna it causes a reaction. So I think it's even though you're just being authentic in yourself, like I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and if Youngmi and I were to try to like start a startup or like have a business to get investments for, I would probably be like, are you sure you want to like make this so political? This might like rub people the wrong way. I think that's like based in capitalism and like white capitalism in America, because that whole I this is just my theory, that whole like stripping your brand of any sort of real personality to further your corporation is like, you know, like basically you're just trying to make it neutral so everyone wants to buy it. But if you add this personal story to it, it becomes more niche, you know, like there are lots of people that are white people
or not non-Asian people that will see your message and be turned off by buying your product, who would have maybe bought it if you didn't, if you weren't so political.
Like in the early stages of it, was there some persuasion that was needed, like that had to be done on your end? Like, was there a little bit of friction?
That is nearly a separate 4-hour rant podcast. But
Wow.
yeah, I guess like the TLDR is like when we first started, this was 2000, like when we first started kind of thinking about this idea, 2019, 2018. And we're pitching this idea of like Asian food brand. And Youngmi, you're right. Like when you look at the gatekeepers, they're like largely older, straight white men. And for them, we're pitching them this idea of like, yo, this parade is coming. You see Crazy Rich Asians, that's the fucking tip of the iceberg. Like Asian Americana is reclaiming our voice, reclaiming our power. And it's just a matter of time before like a food brand that's focused the way that we are on Asian dishes and Asian chefs, like it's bound to happen. And we were telling this, you know, we had all these like stories and stats and data, like Asian Americans are the fastest growing ethnic group with the fastest growing buying power. Like it felt ironclad. And then you talk to these people who have such specific viewpoints of the world. They're like, oh, well, my nanny cooks Asian food once a month, so there's no market for this. And like at that point, that's a legitimate pushback we got. And Vanessa and I were just like, we're banging our heads against a wall here. Like we're not like on paper, Vanessa and I are actually like what a lot of VCs would want to invest in. Like Vanessa went to Harvard, I went to NYU. Like we're smart and we've worked like, you know, white collar jobs and all of that. But even then this like kind of perceived notion of nicheness really hurt us in the beginning. And I'm going to be honest with you, that was like, that earliest fundraise was the darkest time in Omsom's history. Vanessa and I deeply struggled with mental health issues. We were struggling to keep the lights on. We don't have access to generational wealth, and so we couldn't kind of like keep it going. And it was just really difficult. But I think at one point something clicked, largely driven by Vanessa. She's really kind of the one who spearheaded a lot of this thinking, where it was like, you know what? Our dedication to our community, our unapologeticness around who we are and who we are for serves as both like a magnet and a filter. Because like if someone's never gonna get Asian America and seeing us as like valid or important or even like a good consumer segment, like there is no amount of convincing that I can do to get you across the finish line. So like I'm not gonna waste my time, not gonna waste my energy. And instead it ended up being a magnet to investors who were largely like femme folks, people of color, LGBTQIA, who are like, you know what? Maybe I'm not Asian, but I'm underrepresented in these other ways, and I see the power of these communities that have long been underserved. Like, once we kind of got really clear on that, it just became so much easier to find the right folks versus like begging gatekeepers who were never ever going to get it. Like across the finish line was just it's not going to work.
You know, I feel like that what you just said reminds me so much of like what Brian talks about a lot in doing the podcast, where he was like, I entered comedy and then I was like, gatekeepers, white old men, and they don't get it and they don't understand my content, and they're saying that this is not going to work. And so we, you know, like this, that led him to starting this podcast. And now we're like, oh, we found our audience. And the other thing is like, I don't want to have an audience that doesn't get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say you scrubbed Omsom clean so it's so it looks better to like a corporation white guy. Do you want them to buy your product? I mean, you'd be a billionaire, but you know what I mean? Like, really, like they want, what if the white guy's like, I like this, but can you write everything in the chopstick font and add baby corn? We need more baby corn. It's okay, but where's the baby corn? I thought this was Oriental food, right? Like, do we want that guy buying Omsom anyway? No.
I mean, it's what your journey and as a company, it just exemplifies the importance of having a diversity of voices at the top level and at that level, decision-making level, because you know, now like we're all the better for it. I get to enjoy like really easy Asian home cooking. But if it weren't for those ride or die people from the beginning who just got it, you know, it's like it's fucking bullshit.
And your company's doing so well. So it's like, do you know what I mean? It's like they're like, this is never gonna work. It's working.
Girl,
Steven,
the number of,
you know what I mean?
The amount of investors who have come crawling back into my inbox, like, hey, just circling back. Like, it's delicious. It's delicious. It's like a delicious feeling. I'm like, yes. Feed me.
Just as delicious as the Omsom larb. That's my favorite one.
Something I've been thinking about too is like, I think sometimes it's easy to view this in the binary of like, okay, you're either proud and loud and niche, or you're like commercial and nothing, and you mean nothing, right?
Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to do is kind of this long game of like, all right, we have our ride or dies, but slowly and surely we're gonna like incept non-Asian folks.
Yeah.
And like maybe they're there for the dishes, but then like they're reading our newsletters, they're watching our TikToks, they're like following our community. And it becomes like a slow but very intentional, like literal opening of people's minds and palates. Like I think that's kind of my end goal with Omsom, is that like, you know, hashtag capitalism, like we do have to grow. And I'm just trying to think like, okay, I don't want to go stark, like now we're for everyone. Now it's like personalityless, you know, but it's like, how can we keep our proud and loud heart while still like, perhaps like just bringing in more and more folks who are down to read about how you shouldn't assume that Asian food should always be cheap. And like, it's actually really shocking to me how many non-Asian folks read our stuff and are like, they DM me and they're like, I never thought about the ethnic aisle, or damn, I always thought MSG was bad. And actually y'all have opened my minds. And I'm like, fuck, like we're doing that work. And it's worth it. Like if I can kind of get allies and advocates along the way.
Totally.
Yeah,
I think those are some of my favorite DMs that we get on this podcast are from white people who, in a lot of cases, their partner is Asian.
Yeah.
And they say they listen to the podcast as a means to better understand their romantic partners.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's really like awesome.
That is sweet. Yeah. And you know, like for the very large part, none of them are like offensive. Like they have questions and I'm like, that's a valid question and that's a really interesting, you know, point and stuff like that. But also I want to say, that I feel like that's such a good example of what you were saying, where you're like, if you have a platform, even if it's like, I have a food company, you do these dialogues, and then people that have never, like, I don't know anyone that's never heard the, you know, the MSG is allergy is racist dialogue. Like, I can't believe people have not heard that yet, but that's how you reach them. 'Cause first you're like, here's some food. Psych, you're learning now. You're learning.
Yeah, literally. Incepting your shit. Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, everyone loves Asian food, right? So that's like at the bare minimum. I'm like, cool, eat our stuff. Now, like, fucking learn. You know, I think
now we're here.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I like it.
I don't eat MSG, but I'm gonna put on this nutritional yeast on my popcorn.
Yeah. Why don't you print the messages under the like lids and stuff inside the boxes? Like just the messages inside the box, like when they open it, it'll just be like an essay.
Oh, yeah.
Kim's like, we'll circle back on that idea.
Circle back.
like a pamphlet, propaganda pamphlet.
Yeah, so like I said, Omsom to me kind of represents brand 3.0 for all of the aforementioned reasons and the discussion we had, but also you yourself, Kim, are kind of like, you're founder 3.0, where you are, you know, you're very open and vulnerable about not only how you run this business, but just about all facets of your life. And then, you know, on your Instagram, you are very, you know, you're open about like kink, BDSM, sex positivity. I don't know anything about all of that.
Me neither.
And that's why I'm so interested to learn more. But again, like, you're unabashedly yourself, and that, to me, that's why it's like founder 3.0, where there's no separation or delineation of like, I gotta be this buttoned up person and then hide the other facets of me from the public eye. And I guess to start, can you describe your journey and like how you even got into all of this?
So BDSM is, what does it stand for? Body? No.
It's
sorry.
Like, there's many different, but it's largely bondage, discipline, and submission, or domination, submission. Like, there's multiple kind of interchangeable, and then M is for masochism. But basically, power exchange.
Okay.
Right. Okay. No, I feel like I get the fundamental concept of that. Of course, sex has so much stuff with power and power dynamics. But yeah, tell us about how you got into it.
TLDR, about 3 years ago, I got out of a really lovely really wonderful, loving, but very vanilla relationship. I had spent most of my kind of young 20s post-college with this person, and no shade to him, but kind of stepped out from that, and I was like, whoa, like I kind of don't really know who I am, and that can happen in relationships, especially monogamous ones. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna classic Kim, a little bit neurotic. I was like, okay, I want to do this exercise where I go through every single little thing that I think I know about myself and determine whether or not that was like truly mine and like formed organically, or if it was inherited by society or social norms. And like literally I was like boom, 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 boom. And in that process realized like, oh, I'm actually queer. Oh, like I had been biphobic for so long and internalized so much biphobia. I'm actually like a bi woman. Okay, that's cool. Oh, and I'm actually really kinky. And that for so long, especially because I'm an Asian woman, I'm a Southeast Asian woman, I felt like I had been fed this narrative my whole life that my play and pleasure was not for me. It was for to be reaped by someone else, right? Yep. You see this from like, Full Metal Jacket to, the silent submissive stereotypes, even to porn and how Asian women are typically depicted. I had always felt, and even with partners where I felt like I was fully autonomous and had full agency, that like at the end of the day, I had to be submissive. And I was like, ugh, like, is that actually me? No, I want to go learn to be a dominatrix. And so wow. I was like, if I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do it the right way. So I started actually like formally training alongside pro-doms and sex workers, and then actually finding a community of other really sex positive, badass Asian femme folks to like kind of be alongside. And through that process was like, learned a ton about what it means, to do ethical BDSM, learned a ton about like co-creation with submissives, even like fully kind of reframing the way that I view BDSM and power exchange and topping and bottoming. Like I just learned a lot, and I just wanted to do it the right way, honestly, as opposed to kind of like watching porn and trying to mirror it with people who hadn't really consented to that. And so, kind of fast forward 2-3 years, it is now a huge, huge facet of my life. I don't really have like a vanilla life and like a kinky life. For me, integration is really important. Like my investors know that I'm really sex positive. My parents know I'm sex positive. Maybe not all the instruments and mechanisms, but they do know. And it's just like, I'm becoming the person that I think I wanted when I was younger, as like, like 12-year-old kid growing up in a really white town, not fully understanding my queerness and my kinkiness. And now I'm like, oh, I'm like that person that she wished she had known. Right. And that's really kind of my North Star.
I love how you tied in your life as an Asian woman into this journey, because I think I feel like we've talked about this sort of topic before, not the BDSM, but this sort of like realization for a lot of Asian people, and especially Asian women, where you are taught like your whole life is for other people. And I think that's a big thing for most women too. Like, we watch porn, and porn is made basically mostly for straight men. And so the POV in porn is that the women are there for the men to look at, and they're faking orgasms, and they look like, they look a certain way that's appealing to like the cis-het male gaze. And then, so you learn by watching that's you're just supposed to do this performance for your partner. And so, but I also love how you tied being an Asian woman into that, because I feel like that has like a lot to do with it.
It's
to me, it makes so much sense. Yeah.
Whoa. So you just jumped right into it.
Yeah.
Like, are these resources available? Do you just go on the internet and then like, where do you, because it seems so like,
how
for
do
me,
we find out more?
Right.
Me and Brian are
I'm
like
sure
writing
the
this down.
community is extremely supportive and like very welcoming, but it just seems so daunting to me. Like how I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, is this am I weird? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
That is super valid. And honestly, that like opaqueness is what stops a lot of people from like experimenting or even understanding this part of themselves. So I think the first piece for me was like facing that shame of like, oh, like I want to do these things, or I want these people to do these things to me. Like, let me just like full on look at that. That was like the first piece. And then the second piece honestly was a ton of work. And I'm realizing now like how much work it was of like me getting integrated into communities of like pre-COVID, going to kink parties by myself, going to meetups, finding like apps and networks that are specific for sex posy and kink and fetish folks like FetLife, Field, and like just starting to really put myself out there. And then it was honestly just trying to find like educational resources. So I'm not a sex worker. I don't purport to be a sex worker, but I knew that I wanted to learn alongside sex workers. I wanted to understand it from a sex worker's perspective. And so really like tried to find pro doms. And it was literally me sliding into people's DMs of like, maybe this is weird. I would love to like apprentice for you, or can I like watch a session? Yeah. It just became like boots on the ground work. And through that started to find a community. Through that started to like attend courses, but it like took a lot of time. And it makes me really sad that it's this opaque, because I think a lot of folks perhaps are like not accessing the full spectrum of play or pleasure because it is so opaque.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to touch on what you said, the touching on or like facing your shame, because I am so ashamed of my kinks to this day. Even though I'm like very sex positive and I have a lot of sex, I'm still like, there is most of the time I'm like, I don't want to say this is awkward.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so real, girl.
It's just like, I mean, I want to, but should I? Yeah. Can you tell us? Wait, Kim, can you tell us your kinks? Do you want to?
So
is that rude?
Is that rude?
No,
if you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm just asking.
I'm like kind of annoying in the sense that my kinks and fetishes are ultimate. Like I have tons of things that I love, but as a person, I don't optimize for titles and acts. I optimize for chemistry and connection with the partner. So like I'm switchy and I'm pretty experienced that like almost for the most part, there's obviously I have hard boundaries, but most people's kinks and fetishes, like I have experience or I'm down to ride with. Like I'm very much like a service top in that sense of like I love helping people like reach their joy.
Yeah.
But like things that I kind of gun to my head have a secret place in my heart. I do love all things power exchange, bondage, restraints, orgasm control, cum control, edging. I have a slight sadistic streak, so I do enjoy impact play, light cock and ball torture.
Nice.
And then a little bit of degradation feels a little natural to me, so I do enjoy like cuckolding, cuckweening. Like these are all like terms and words, but like basically power exchange. I love anything and everything for the most part underneath that.
Oh, that sounds so hot. I was like, me too. I like that too. I like all of that too. I want to do that.
Basically, if I could give you like one unsolicited piece of advice of like confronting those kinks, it's like don't do it during play. Like there's so much ego and pressure wrapped up when you're about to like engage with a partner, like actually physically. It's always best to talk about these things like in a neutral setting, like in the morning with coffee or tea. It seems so mortifying.
I think I could do that. That seems like doable to me.
Like when you're in the heat of the moment, you're like, choke me, and someone's like not there, and you're like, oh, it's like, it's just a bad vibe all around. It's just best to be neutral.
It's like, please cock and ball torture me. Oh, sorry. Fuck, is it weird now?
Did I make it weird? Oh, that's actually really good advice. Sometimes as soon as you said that, I was like, I feel like I could do that. I could sit down with somebody and have this conversation. But I always feel like it comes in my head during sex, and then I'm like, should I say it? I'm not gonna say it. That's weird. I'm weird.
One thing that, like, if I can just say one more thing about this, something that helped me reframe away from like weird, because I felt a lot of that when I was like, oh, I really want to like step on someone's balls. Like, does that make me a bad person?
Me too.
One thing that one of my mistresses told me that like fundamentally reshaped the way that I view kink and fetish. She's like, Kim, all kink and fetish is childhood imagination and play with adult sexual privilege. So like when we were younger, right, it would be like, all right, Brian, you're a cop, I'm a robber, go. And we would create these worlds, and without even blinking, without thinking, like you would be a cop and I'd be a robber, and we would just like make this little world for ourselves. But as adults, over time, we pack on insecurity, we pack on ego, we pack on trauma and shame, and now we are unable to reach that very childlike sense of play. That's all kink and fetishes is allowing us to access that again, and now with orgasms, which are fun for everyone.
Wow.
when I feel like when it comes to this world of kink and fetish, when the power dynamic is being subverted, it's almost seems like easier to accept versus like when it's reinforced, then I feel like it's a slippery slope. Because using you as an example, you're a woman, and societally, like, the power dynamic is in favor of men. Like, we are in a patriarchal society, so you like if you want to step on a guy's balls, like, that is the power dynamic is like it's being subverted in that relationship. Whereas like, let's say I am a man and I go like, yeah, I'm really into dominating women, like I'm into that, like that's who I am, like that just reinforced, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like if you think about it too much, does it kind of ruin, like, is a rule to just not think about it and like you're just into it and that's what it is, and just communicate? Do you know what I'm trying to like get at here?
Yes. Yeah. No, I 100%. And I totally hear you. And for so long, actually, Brian, that was explicitly, I was like, when I first started out my journey, I was like, I'm a dom, capital D. I'll never let a man, like never let a man spit in my mouth, that type of energy. And then because I hadn't realized that, like, I had slept with a lot of folks, male folks, who had identified as dom, but really what they were doing, they were like channeling their misogyny through domination, which is like not good. That is not ethical domination.
That's my Leo DiCaprio. Yes, I've seen that. Yes.
I'm like, I want to say every single woman has had this experience where a guy's been like, I'm a dom, and they've just like been shitty and misogynistic and like awful, right? Yes. And so I think over time I realized like, oh wow, DS is power exchange. It is like something that we source and surface within ourselves and like is an expression of us. And so I do deeply believe, and I have partners who are cis het men who are doms, but the difference is they've done the work, they've like gone through therapy, they've tried to understand what is the root of their desire for domination, they've like realized that it's not about, and also you can dominate with someone without ever touching them, without ever sleeping with them, without ever hurting them. Like, domination is literally what you co-create with someone. So there's absolutely a way that you can be an ethical dom and a man. I think you just have to fucking do the work.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because also, I like the little that I know about kinks and stuff like that. I know that there's this thing where, like when you are having like some sort of kinky sex, that is separate than the real world. So like, I feel like some of my kinks that I'm ashamed of sort of align with these like misogynistic ideas, right? And I feel like I can be a feminist, even though I don't do any of these kinky things. I can be a feminist and still have this kinky part of my sex life that I want to play this role where I'm like a mate. I'm not saying I'm like, not that I would want this, but like, like I could have like a sex life where I play a role where I'm like a man is beating you. And I think, I'm glad that you talked about this, because I think a lot of like cis het couples, men and women, already do this sort of kink in bed because that's socially acceptable. Like the choking phenomenon, all cishet men love choking cishet women, and for me, I'm just like, that's just sort of like misogyny, but like it's fine because it's a kink or whatever. But that's like where they will draw the line. Like they're not gonna do, you know what I mean? Because it already fits in their head of like,
it's already been accepted and socialized.
Like slapping a woman and choking a woman, like that's like totally fine, like acceptable.
And like, a lot of this is
but not
learned
for everybody.
From porn,
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, like, so in this hypothetical, Kim, let's say that both partners they've communicated and they're like both watched a ton of porn and they just want to do the shit that's in porn, even if it's like, if you dig deeper, they could be quite nefarious and there's like ugly truths in it. But if both partners are like, fuck yeah, I watch a lot of porn, like I like the shit that goes down in porn, I like it when you do that weird, like you slap my vagina and like before,
titty slapping
and
what
the
is
titty
that?
slapping. Like,
I might like that. I don't know.
In the world that you're in, like if both partners are agreeing to it, then is that just like, fuck it, then that it is what it is, like both people are happy and there's nothing more to it then?
Yeah, this is a great question, and there's no one right answer, right? Like I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh, like there's there's like hard lines, right? But I think for me, I operate under like anything is possible with as long as there's consent, communication, and honesty. I practice what I call RAC is the term. There's several like frameworks within BDSM, but RAC is risk aware consensual kink, of like as long as you are of sound mind and body, you understand the risks of what's about to happen and you're consenting to it, anything is possible. And like when I say anything, for some people that is anything. And there are other folks who are like, hey, ethics of BDSM, we shouldn't hurt people in a way that's irreversible. But then I also know doms, friends of mine whose submissives have gotten tattooed for them or have gotten branded for them. Is that unethical? If there's consent and communication, like it's not clear. And I think different doms will have different answers for you. For me, I think I skew towards like risk. As long as they're risk aware and it's consensual, then you can create whatever worlds you want.
Right. Should we, as a practice, since Kim said her kinks, should we both say our kinks, Brian?
Yes. I don't want to
take
force
away
it,
the shame,
but I'm curious.
We don't have to.
You go
should
first.
Should we say one? I'm so ashamed right now. I'm so embarrassed. Why though? It's so weird because I talk about sex all the time.
Go on.
Well, I guess here. Why don't we? I'll make it easier. Like, what is something that you're curious about that maybe you're a little bit scared by, but is still intriguing to you?
I am so embarrassed right now. I really regret seeing this. Okay, let me think of one.
I'll go first.
Okay,
if you
Brian,
want me
go.
to.
Do it, Brian.
Okay, so allegedly, coming from a place of curiosity, I would say for me it's like exhibitionism a little bit, where like even the idea of like, let's say filming myself having sex, just the process of that is enough to like turn me on. Like I don't even have to watch the video, it can be discarded immediately after, but just like the act of, there's like enough taboo there where like I think in the umbrella category of like exhibitionism, or it's like something is hot about that. And
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Would it turn you on if you knew that people were watching it? I mean, in a safe whatever way.
Possibly. Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
But again, like I've thought about it, and I'm like, well, I do stand up, so it's probably the same, like satiates the same part of my brain there.
What if you're not on a stand-up stage and you just started having sex, but everyone consented to that? Consented. It's not Louis C.K. style. It's consenting. And they buy tickets because they know that's gonna happen. Would that be like hot for you?
Until the critics are like, "This isn't funny. He's just
you're not funny."
He's just like being gross and doing sex stuff.
I consented, but I don't like it. Sorry.
Yeah, so I guess like for me it would be like exhibitionism, and then like dom behavior. But again, like I haven't explored it. I don't know where
Proud
does
of
it
you,
even.
Brian.
You know what I mean? That's why I was asking. I'm like, is this just like my porn brain, or is this something that's inherent to me? Like, I don't know. You know.
Well, I think the important thing is that you don't feel bad about it or that it's wrong.
Oh no, I feel incredibly overwhelmed with embarrassment that I shared this right now. But
I'm about to share mine. I want
to hear Youngmies, and then I might just layer on a quick little commentary.
Okay, so mine, this is embarrassing, but I have this like, I do have this like fantasy where I am like, some sort of working person that's like in service to somebody, like a maid or like somebody that's like, I don't know, like some like low job that somebody's gonna come in and take advantage of me. Okay. Is that even a kink, or is that, do you know what I mean? And I have to do what they tell me to do.
Okay. So like,
that's
you know
delicious.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's my thing.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That is delicious. That's borderline like consensual non-consent, which is I love CNC, but okay. Wow, thank you so much, both of y'all, for sharing that.
Analyze
Takes a lot to step into your truth. Something that I might just like layer on that really kind of helped me kind of think about a lot of this stuff is, so in general, people try, like, we shouldn't kind of overanalyze kinks and fetishes. Like, it's not like, I think people are like, oh, well, she wants to be this because, you know, like, I try not to do that. I think some of you're just born this way, right? But something that one of my teachers once told me that I think has given me some sort of insight into myself anyways, is she's like, all DS is domination submission. All it is us playing and understanding our insecurities. So for example, as a dominant, I've been told my whole life that like Asian women are submissive, Asian women are quiet, docile, blah, blah, blah. So it makes sense to me that like I would want to use domination to like give a middle finger to those tropes, right?
Yeah.
And submission, she said, is oftentimes our way of reconciling and confronting our own insecurities, but in a safe, controlled environment with someone that we trust. So I'll give you an example. For some reason, a lot of the submissives who are attracted to my energy are often quote unquote alpha men. They're like tall dudes who make a lot of money and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And when they want to kind of play with me, it's in a capacity where they're like my sissy little sluts. Like that, they explicitly look for sissification. And for so long I was like, wait, I don't get, like, what? And then I started actually like speaking to them. I very much view like DS and BDSM as sometimes like therapy for many folks. But it became clear to me that like a lot of these men are given zero room for feminine expression. They're like, I have to be tall, I have to be strong, I have to have a big dick, I have to know how to please women, I have to make all the money, I have to like, have to. And so because they're forced into this really rigid box of masculinity, toxic masculinity, they're given no room for softness, for vulnerability, for, you know, what some perceive to be feminine expression. And so it comes out, quote unquote, in an extreme way with me, where they want to be these like sissy little toys, my little good little pets, like, because that for them is their greatest insecurity. Their greatest insecurity is like, oh my gosh, I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not a man enough.
Alpha guy.
Yeah. And
it sounds so hot.
I love it. But yeah, some like perhaps like something to think about as you all think about, like, you know, again, don't overanalyze it. Sometimes you just want to have fun with whatever your brain is on. But yeah, I thought that was really curious. A lot of folks kind of get around that because, yeah, I agree, like dressing up in the thing and doing a thing. Some folks get around it by like doing something where it's like, oh, I give my partner a key, and anytime on these dates they can come by at any time, and like it's and so it kind of gets at the core element of that, which is like power and surprise. So it's not like oh, I'm a maid. It's like, shit. Oh, I was actually on a okay, you know, and then it's that still same sort of rush without like the role play.
I was telling Kim asked me why I think I'm so embarrassed of it, and I told her it's because like in my head I'm like, it feels corny because when I'm having sex I'm very just like very raw, primal, like no brain is involved. Yeah. And for me acting like a maid or something just seems like corny, and that's what we were just talking about. But that's you know, that just reminded me of another one that's always sounded so hot to me, the kink where it's like you have the vibrator in your panties and your partner controls it. I want to do that. I'm not embarrassed of saying that.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that with me?
Orgasm control is my absolute favorite. Forced orgasms, also delicious. By the way, you can also do this with male folks. You know, have a nice little vibrator, get like a and get that little P spot going.
So hot.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for just being so open on our podcast. But before we let you go, let us and our listeners know, what is something that you're proud of?
Ooh. Honestly, I'm proud of who I am today. Like, it took a lot of time for me to like integrate all these parts of my life and not feel shame from them. So that's what I feel proud of, is that like I can go on my Instagram and talk about BDSM and have investors follow me and have that be just as valid a part of my existence as me being like a girl boss, you know? Like I'm proud of that.
I think that was like, you know, what Brian and I were talking about before we started recording. We were like, you know, this is a new kind of entrepreneur, like a new kind of business owner, like somebody that integrates all parts of their life into their business, and that is proven to be very successful and I think refreshing for people. It's so real, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we want to congratulate you on all your success, and thank you for such a great product, which I love. I just feel like it needs more baby corn, but that's just me.
More baby corn. Yeah.
Where can our listeners find you and your work?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Kim_T_Pham, and then you can also find us at Omsom. And yeah, I'm just around on the interweb, so as long as you find me on kimpham.org, you're good to go.
All right. How about you, Brian? Where can our listeners find you?
You guys can find me on socials at It's Brian Park. And what about you, Young May?
YM Mayor, and my TikTok is Young Me Mayor. Please follow our podcast at Feeling Asian Podcast on Instagram and TikTok.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, youtube.com/Feeling Asian Podcast. And I think that's basically it.
Yeah.
You know the drill. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.